Good morning, Year 3 and Year 4, and welcome to today's assembly, which is on the things that the internet remembers about you. So it's what information does the internet store? We are looking at e-safety this term, so I'm just going to share my slides so that you can see the PowerPoint. So as I said, this assembly is all about e-safety, and in particular, what does the internet remember? So we're going to learn about cookies, and you're probably thinking, what are cookies? In fact, you're probably thinking, I know what cookies are. But computer cookies are not the kind that you want to eat. They are completely different. Websites use cookies to help them remember things about the person using the website. So websites write out information to these data cookies so that when you visit again, you can pick up exactly where the cookie left off. In most cases, these cookies are very useful for repeat visitors to a website. For example, my favorite shop is Zara, and I love to shop at Zara. Zara website would use cookies to see what type of things that I like to search. They would remember the language that I've set my website to be set to. They would remember the currency that I'm going to be paying using pounds. They might even remember my card details so that when I go to pay for all the clothes that I order on Zara, which is a lot, I don't have to enter in those details all over again. It remembers information about me to make my visit to Zara website a lot easier. So these cookies are created and updated and deleted with the web browsers that you use. Website cookies, think of them as small bits of data called a text file, and it just sits on your computer and it just remembers lots of different things about you. So you've probably seen some signs, some website cookie signs. It might come up with a cookie policy and you either say, I'm happy with this, and you have to click agree or decline if you are not, and that means you might not be able to use a lot of the website. So what are they used for? Cookies help websites store information about you, such as what YouTube videos you like to watch, or the toys you've been searching for on the internet. They can even remember your name and address. Over here, here's a website cookie from maybe me. I could say this is someone that I like to search on YouTube, Jojo Siwa. I'm sure lots of you do too. Or maybe some toys that you like to play with. I'm sure lots of you search toys that you would want and want your adults at home to buy you. These website cookies can store that information and remember that. And they might even advertise those same toys on the internet as you're using it. So you might see that sometimes every now and then it pops up with things that you've been searching for or things that you've wanted. And you're probably thinking, how did they know? How did this website know that I wanted that bag? Well, it's because of the cookies that the website uses. So here are some different signs, some different cookie signs. So I'm just going to use my laser pen so that you can see. This is from John Lewis. It says are cookies. It just tells you about it. As you can see, they're small text files, and it improves the website experience, and it just personalizes it. So you can either manage cookies and turn them off, or you can allow all the cookies, so it stores all the information it needs to about you. Here's a news website called The Independent, and again, it's talked about valuing your privacy. Whilst they haven't mentioned, they've said cookies here, but they've used the word privacy, but it's the same thing. This website uses cookies and stores them, but you as a website browser, you're browsing the website, you have to actually agree to it. They can't store this information without your consent. And again, here's a website cookie message from Argos. Again, they're talking about valuing your privacy. Do you accept all the cookies, or do you want to manage the cookies and only accept some or none of them? You do have the option to refuse all cookies. If you don't want the website that you're using to store any information about you, you can choose to do so. So let's move on. How are these cookies used? Cookies are mostly used to help websites function properly. Without them, you may not be able to fully access the website. So they may not be able to show you certain parts of the website. You may not be able to use the whole website. You may be only able to use a small amount of the website or a small fraction of it. However, cookies can also be used to advertise products that the internet searcher may like, as they remember all your details that you enter into the website. For example, when you log on to Purple Mash, sometimes Purple Mash has cookies that would remember your username and your password. Same as Times Table Rockstars, they store cookies to remember your details, your password, your name. So lots of websites use them, and they're not always a bad thing, but it can use cookies to then advertise. So if you go on a clothing shop or a toy shop and you start looking at items, let's say I wanted to buy some boots, some new school boots, and if I've been searching for boots on the internet, when I go to a different website, it might then recommend me some boots. Okay, because it stored that information on or about me as the searcher. So to show you how these cookies work, we are going to play a little game. I'm going to give you some information about a person, and I want you to see how much you can remember about this person. Are you ready? I didn't hear you. Are you ready? Okay, so I'm going to talk through who this person is and give you some information about his life. Then I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute to look at the screen. So you don't need to pause it. You just need to wait for this video. I'm going to give you 1 minute. You're going to remember as much as you can about it, and I'm going to turn the screen over to the next page. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about him now. This little boy is called Michael Shaw. Okay, his name is Michael Shaw. He is 5 years old, and he was born on April the 2nd in 2015. Okay, he lives at 23 Grasmere Road. He lives at 23 Grasmere Road, which is a street in Brighton. His favorite game to play is Mario Kart on Nintendo Switch. He likes to watch lots of YouTube videos, but his favorite is Ryan's World. And on the weekend, he likes to be super cozy and dresses up in his Minecraft super soft onesie. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute, and I've got my timer here. And I'm just going to pause for one minute and let you watch this and see how much information you can remember. When I start talking again, the 1 minute will be over. And that is the 1 minute over. So now I'm going to turn to this page. Tell me, how much of the previous slide can you remember? How much can you remember about the person I've just showed you? You can either say it or write it down. And I'm going to give you can pause the video on this slide to write down as much as you can remember. Please don't go back to the other slide because then you'll ruin it. So how much can you remember without looking back at the previous slide? Pause the video now so that you can do that. Okay, so I'm guessing that you probably didn't remember all the different information about Michael Shaw, and that he was a boy who was 5 years old. He lived at 23 Grasmere Road, which was a street in Brighton. His favorite game was Mario Kart on Nintendo Switch. He loved YouTubers, but his favorite one was Ryan's World. And on the weekends, he liked to wear a super soft, cozy Minecraft onesie. You probably didn't remember all of that information because it is a lot to remember. Now, you may find it tricky to remember all of this information because our brains cannot retain lots of information in such a small time frame. However, computer cookies can store large amounts of information very quickly. It would be able to remember everything about everything in that last slide and so much more. Okay, they store millions and millions of pieces of information and data files on different people and different internet searches every single day. So, what to do when browsing on the internet? Should you turn your cookies off, you're probably wondering, because it can store all this information about you? Well, probably not. If you log into some websites, it's very common to use internet cookies as part of a login process and to authenticate your website browsing during your session. So it's necessary. Once you log onto a website, cookies are part of it. Okay, so they can actually help you when you're using the website to make it a lot faster, rather than you entering your details all the time. And also, if you're looking for something in particular, it can recommend you. Rather than spending hours browsing through YouTube, it can recommend you videos that it knows that you would like because of the cookies that have been stored. So instead, web browsers have some form of preference tabs. okay, or links where you can see all of the cookies that are currently managed by the browser. And you can go through the list and delete cookies from advertisers or other sources if it bothers you. So if you don't want the websites to remember your password and your username, you can go through the cookies and click and choose for it not to remember those details. Okay, so it's completely up to you what you want the websites that you're using to store. You are in control. So what I want you to remember is, in short, cookies are like anything online. You should know about them. It's very important. And cookies can make your online life a lot easier. But they can also be dangerous when misused. In the same way that eating 500 cookies in real life at one go can be a problem for most people, the cookies a website leaves behind can also be a problem. And lots of advertisers like to leave cookies to track where you go and sometimes what you do and what you look at, so that they can then recommend their products to you and encourage you to buy them. So what I want you to do is make sure you keep an eye out for website cookies over time to ensure your privacy. You can ask an adult to delete a cookie for you or any of your cookie data if you feel worried about websites storing your information. So what we're going to do now is we are going to do a quiz to see what you remember from those slides, all about cookies and the internet storing data and information. My first question is, what is the name given to website tools to help them store information? Pause the video so that you can answer that question. Next, why do cookies store people's information? Why do cookies store people's information? You can pause the video if you want to. Question number 3, what should you do if a website has used cookies to store information about you that you didn't want them to have? So what should you do if a website has used cookies to store information about you that you didn't want them to have? Perhaps it saved your password, or it saved your parents or adults at home card details. So what should you do if they've used their cookies to store their information about you and you didn't want them to have it? What should you do? And my last question is, are website cookies bad? So just to go through them, what is the name given to website tools to help them store information? That was cookies. Why do cookies store people's information? Well, it's to make their browsing a lot easier and quicker, and to save them time from having to enter information again. Also, advertisers use them to recommend products that they think you would like. What should you do if a website has used cookies to store information about you that you didn't want them to have? Well, like I said before, you should get an adult to come and delete those cookies for you. If you're ever worried about anything on the internet, always tell an adult and have them look at your computer, and they can sort that out for you and they can delete those cookies. Lastly, are website cookies bad? No, they're not. In fact, most of the time they are used to help you, to help speed things along, but occasionally they can be misused. And if a website collects lots and lots of cookies about you, they might start recommending you products that you think you might like, and this can become quite annoying, and also it might save data that you didn't want them to have. So it's not bad, but they can be misused. So make sure, if you ever feel like a website is storing too much information about you through their cookies, then again, get an adult to delete them. But no, they're not always bad. Okay, and that, I'm going to stop sharing. That is the end of our assembly. I hope you learned something from that. If you got some of the questions wrong in the quiz, maybe go back to the different points of the video where we talked about those subjects. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that and learned something from that. Bye, year 3 and year 4.